The Australian housing market is worth over $6 trillion, but with so much uncertainty surrounding property prices and negative gearing, there hasn't been much movement lately when it comes to buying and selling.
Some would-be first home buyers may be feeling as though the great Australian dream is dead, but it could just be a case of the dream coming in a different form, and a lifetime of renting might not be so bad. For more, we're joined by money commentator Nicole Pedersen-McKinnon, who is live from the Sunshine Coast. Let's start with those who don't own their own home. Take us through the pros and cons of renting, Nicole.
Hi there, guys. Well, Generation Rent, as they're being called, shouldn't despair. They really shouldn't. 4 out of 5 millennials are really worried that they're never going to get a foot on the property ladder, and 2/3 of renters think that they're going to be doing it for life. But you have ultimate flexibility. You can move cheaply, easily, quickly, for whatever reason life throws at you. If your plumbing busts, if your heating goes, you can call the landlord and you save a bunch of money on that. Speaking of saving, renting should be cheaper than the mortgage on that same property. So you should also have this hypothetical extra money, which you can then be using to establish your security on the side. Because the downsides of renting are that you can get evicted and that you may have to keep finding those rent repayments after retirement. So you do need to build that buffer as well.
Yeah, we had an elderly friend who was renting in the same place for about 15 years and very well settled and not ready to make a move for the rest of her life. And then all of a sudden the property sells and there's an eviction there, which was very uncomfortable. What are the positives and negatives then of owning a home?
Yeah, well, look, you can flip everything I just said and add the fact that a mortgage is a fantastic forced savings vehicle. You know, you can't take your home loan repayment and go out for a night on the town. It just can't happen. Lots of other positives as well, in that you can never get kicked out, exactly what you just spoke about, Larry. But, you know, we've got these crazy high property prices. Property has tremendously high entry costs as well. If you have to pay stamp duty, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Lender's mortgage insurance is another few $1,000s and does nothing for you whatsoever, just protects the bank. Also, owning a home, it's a big chunk of money tied up in one asset. Contrary to popular belief, property prices can and have gone down. So in a way, it's almost a little dangerous.
OK, what about renting and investing at the same time? Take us through how that would work.
OK, so this is the key. So I call this rent vesting, OK? So what you do, as I said before, when you rent, you actually save money, usually, on the mortgage on that same property. That is kind of the concept behind negative gearing. What you need to do to come out ahead is save what you save, OK? That's your benchmark for how much you should be saving. Now, don't put it in the bank, though. There are lots and lots of tax-effective, tax-perk kind of investments that you could put that money into. Superannuation, you get bonus money because it's before tax. Shares, you get credit for tax the company has already paid. And even buying property to rent out comes with these tax perks at the moment of negative gearing. And, of course, if you buy somewhere where you don't want to live, perhaps more remote, the prices might be cheaper as well.
OK, so there's still plenty of people who yearn for that great Aussie dream to own their own home. So it might be time to think outside the box a little bit when it comes to property. What are some other ways to get into the market?
OK, aim higher, oddly enough. Now, what I mean by this is apartment living. So in many countries around the world, people don't really have this idea that they'll ever get the house that we've sort of been brought up with. Say in Japan, people only ever envisage being able to afford an apartment. The beautiful thing about this strategy in Australia is that there's an apartment glut. So in, say, 2-3 years, if you bide your time, you might be able to actually pick up an apartment at a bargain basement price that offers you a fantastic lifestyle near, say, the beach, river, ocean.
OK, you're also suggesting some home buyers actually live with their parents.
Controversial, I know, but desperate times might call for desperate measures. Now, I'm not suggesting they go so far as what a lot of people are doing in Hong Kong. Newlyweds are actually living separately with their respective parents. So I'm not saying that at all. But independently under the one roof, there's a big rise in this happening. So granny flats are easier to build. You could have a level each and actually lead quite separate lives, but share on those property costs. Just get a good agreement going beforehand on who pays what and who gets what ultimately.
OK. Now, finally, you say that fly in, fly out. We hear that a lot in relation to the mining industry, but not always like that, you're saying.
Okay, so as you mentioned, Sunshine Coast. My own story here very quickly. I looked at the prices. I lived in Sydney for 10 years. I looked at the prices of buying a place when we were having our second child. The numbers really didn't add up. Sunshine Coast was much more affordable, so I guess I fly in, fly out to the big cities rather than to the remote areas. So we bought a place for roughly $1 million less than we would have paid in Sydney, which covers an awful lot of cheap airfares. And I still get to talk to you lovely people all the time.
Yeah. So anyone who wants to move to the Sunshine Coast, you can talk to us on the morning show anytime.
Exactly.
No, it's a great idea, Nicole, and plenty of people thinking along those lines. It's a smart move. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good to chat.
Our pleasure. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Nicole. Still